All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Sean Antonetti, and we will get started with our TAP interest meeting. So please make note of the screen. If you have any questions during the meeting, please type those questions in the chat box, and a member of the TAP intake team will answer your question. We will also take questions at the very end of the session. All right, so the CCPS TAP intake team is made up of four different people. We have our Director of Professional Development and our TAP Director, Dr. Gloria Duncan. She runs the professional learning department in Clayton County Public Schools. You have two TAP intake specialists. As I said, my name is Dr. Sean Antonetti, and we also have in our Zoom call today, Mr. Daniel Lee. And then you have a name that you will be very familiar with as you'll be working with her a good deal as you start your application process, Miss Teresa Marshall. And she is our TAP administrative assistant. And she, again, will be your liaison between getting into the TAP program and your starting of the application. Now, Clayton County TAP. So what we are looking for with Clayton County TAP is we want people who are extraordinary individuals, people who are very good at multitasking, organizing. They have the educational background, they've got world experience, and they have a multitude of knowledge to bring to our students and to bring into our program. Um, as with any TAP program, you do not need any education coursework on your undergraduate transcript. No experience in teaching is required because the TAP program will teach you everything you need to know in order to be a proficient beginning teacher. Now, some things to think about when you are considering the TAP program. Um, the first thing that you need to have if you want to apply to the program is you need to be a graduate of an accredited college or university. You must have strong content knowledge in the area in which you wish to enter the TAP program. So if you want to come into our TAP program teaching math, you need to have content knowledge in math, and we will find that content knowledge on your undergraduate transcript. Also, you need to be highly committed. Teaching is a rigorous job, so you must be able to work under pressure, but also be able to effectively deliver lessons. That means you have to be passionate about teaching. We want people who have presence. They can come into the classroom, take charge of it immediately, and they need, of course, always to be able to, we should be able to look at you and see that you are dedicated in order to help the students of Clayton County Public Schools succeed, not only in class, but after they leave our classrooms. Again, a couple more things to consider. That TAP itself is a non-traditional certification program. So that means we are not based out of a college or university. Um, it's a rigorous program and it will lead to clear and renewable certification. So the same certification that you would get if you did a master's program in education in a university or college, you'll get the same certificate through us. It's on the job training. So you're teaching during the day and you're taking courses at night. And you're also doing all of the different activities that a teacher would do because you are the teacher of record in that classroom. And I will say this multiple times throughout our presentation, TAP is heavily supported. So you're not alone. You're in the classroom, but you'll have a school-based mentor. So you have another teacher in your building that you can talk to, can learn from, and get experience from. You'll also have your administrator that will directly help you, observe you, and give you that help that you will need in order to reach proficiency as a new teacher. And then on the district level, you will have someone like myself or Mr. Daniel Lee. We are teacher development specialists, and we will walk you through and take you through the TAP program for the 2 years that you're in the program. Now, TAP is not going to lead to another degree. You will, of course, receive the same certification if you were in a master's program, but you will not receive another degree. If you've ever held a teaching certificate outside of a waiver certificate, TAPP is not an appropriate route for you. It's not an easy route to teaching. It is, as I said before, very rigorous, but it is a very worthwhile program, and it's not going to replace a regular college teacher education program. Again, we are a non-traditional, on-the-job program. Now, some of the commitments that you'll have to take on as you come into the Clayton County Public Schools TAPP program, or as you consider, there are some financial commitments. Now, if you have done your research, you will know that the Clayton County Public Schools TAPP program is the most cost-effective TAPP program in the state of Georgia. We do not ask for any fees from you to come into our program. Right? We will invest in you. We will give you coursework for free. We will give you textbooks for free. We give all of that to you for free. Again, fantastic value. Now, because we are investing in you and we're putting our love and our experience into you, we do want you to stay around in the county and teach our students. So, as I said before, the TAPP program is a 2-year program. So once you're done with that second year, you'll be a fully certified teacher, and then we want you to stick around for 3 more years after that. So in total, 5 years. Now, we know that life happens, and you may have to get out of that commitment of those additional 3 years. That's perfectly fine. We understand that. But we just ask you to pay back $1,000 for each year that you do not complete. So let's say you completed the TAPP program, which is 2 years, and you completed 1 year outside of the TAPP program. If, let's say, that 4th year you couldn't do it because you had to leave, had to move across the country, that's fine. You would have to pay back $2,000. But again, that value is incredible because if you research other TAPP programs, their first year alone can be around $3,000 and up. Now, other financial commitments, GACE testing. You have to take and pass all of the GACE tests that we will tell you that you'll need to take and pass before coming into the TAPP program. So it's part of your application process. You will have to pay for those GACE tests. And then also in the summer, when we do our pre-TAPP training, which we call pre-TAPP essentials, it's a non-paid training, but it is mandatory. So again, you will not be paid for that time. So those are the only financial commitments that you will have to take on if you choose to come into the Clayton County Public Schools TAPP program. Now, the time commitments. As I said before, pre-TAPP essentials, that's a 2-week training. So it's usually all day. So you're going to have to put that time aside. And that essentials class is essential. You have to do it before you step foot into that classroom. After you do our TAPP Essentials program, you have to do new teacher induction. So that is a program that all new teachers to the district must go through in order to go into and teach in the classroom. And then time, again, TAPP is a 2-year program. So we have designed it that you will complete the program in 2 years and receive your certification. Now, commitments in our coursework. Again, we teach you everything you need to know to become that proficient new teacher. So you will have coursework in the evenings. We also give coursework in the summer. And that's going to be, you're going to have about an average of 2 evenings per week that you will be doing coursework, or you will be in a course. And again, we provide all the coursework for you. You do not have to pay any additional fees for that. And we'll talk a little bit more about coursework later on in scheduling. Now, the general courses you can see on the screen. I'm not going to go through all of them, but everybody who comes into the TAPP program will have to take these courses. So we've got human growth and development, technology, classroom management. So you see those classes up there, culture responsive practices. All right, so those are the general courses that everyone must take. Now, there are 2 different pathways that you can enter the TAPP program that do not require any previous college coursework. So, those are those classes, courses that would be your math and your English language arts and your science and your social studies. There are two other pathways that you can enter the program in if you don't have coursework in those areas. And those two areas are elementary education and special education. For those two pathways, we will teach you what you need to know in order to be able to teach those different fields. So because we're going to be teaching you that information, there are additional courses in those two fields. So on this next screen, you can see the additional courses that a Clayton County Public Schools TAPP candidate in elementary education would have to take. So you see you got 7 courses up there. Courses 1 through 4 are content process and strategies in those specific content areas, because we know our elementary teachers have to teach all content areas. So we're going to teach you how to do those different content areas. And then if you make note of courses 5, 6, and 7 on the screen, those are all about reading, because elementary teachers lay that foundation for our students in order to get them to be able to read. So we're gonna teach you how to teach students to read. And you see that on the right-hand side, it says reading endorsement. This is another fantastic thing that the Clayton County Public Schools TAPP program brings. When you complete the program as an elementary education candidate, you will, of course, have an elementary education teaching certificate, but you will also have a reading endorsement on that certificate. So that means you're specialized in teaching reading. Usually you have to pay for those endorsements, but with our program, it is part of your coursework. So you get that along with everything else. So that's the elementary education pathway. The other pathway that you can enter the TAPP program in without any previous college coursework is our special education pathway. And that's going to be working with our special education population. So you see that there are 6 additional courses in the special education pathway that you would have to take. So we see strategies for teaching children with autism, developing those individual education plans, managing the learning disabled and the emotional behavioral disabled classroom. These are classes that you would have to take as well. Now, as I said before, if you're entering the TAPP program in a general pathway, a content pathway, you're going to probably see that you'll be taking classes 2 times a night, 2 times a week, excuse me, at night. So this is a sample schedule. This TAPP candidate is taking our assessment for learning class, and they're also taking identification and education of the exceptional child. So there's 2 different classes. So you see that the times that they meet. So assessment is a 5-week course. You meet once a week for 5 weeks. So for 5 Tuesdays, you will have sessions and you'll have coursework. Identification and education of the exceptional child is a 6-week class. So again, right now, because we're in this virtual world, all of our classes are virtual. Okay, so that is what a schedule for someone who is coming in as someone that has a content field would take. Now again, our next schedule is reflecting someone with elementary education. As I said before, you've got to take additional classes because we have to teach you how to teach our elementary kids. So you may have some weeks where you may have an additional class. You may have 3. Now, again, we try to stagger our schedule so you're not taking more than 2 or 3 courses at a time. We don't want you to burn out just on doing coursework. So we do make sure that our schedule is going to help you out. And then we have our special education pathway classes. You see that additional class on Thursday night. So those are some of those commitments for the coursework and the time if you choose to come into the Clayton County Public Schools TAPP program. Some additional requirements. Now, we just went over all those courses. You must complete those courses satisfactorily. So that means you must do the work and it must meet the level that is required to complete that class. You must, as a teacher, maintain employment in the school that you are in. So you must be in that same school for the 2 years that you're in the TAPP program. Very important. I've already stressed that the TAPP program in Clayton County is a rigorous one, and that you have coursework and all these different commitments. So our TAPP candidates may not assume any extracurricular teaching activities. So that means coaching, um, being ahead of a club. Sometimes it may mean not being able to tutor because you're going to be working with the TAPP program. All right, so it will take up your time. Now, you're here today again to learn a little bit more about the application process. So what we're going to do now is go through that. I'm going to put some information in the chat box for you to click on so you can have that in your browsers. So you see the pre-application process for this school year. The first step, you're already doing it, is attend a TAPP interest meeting. Okay, so we are doing that now. The next item that you must complete in the application process is submit a TAPP interest form with unofficial transcripts from the colleges or universities that you have attended. And I am putting the link to that interest form in the chat box. Okay, so you can click on that and you can have a copy of that. So you're going to have to complete that form. And then you're going to submit that form to us, the TAPP selection committee. And we're going to look at that document and we're going to look at your coursework. And then what we're going to do is we're going to send you a GACE test recommendation form. And it's going to list all the different tests that you will need to take and pass before you can fully apply to the TAPP program. Now, the rest of the application process, you will have to submit an online application. So that means you will go to the Clayton County Public Schools Human Resources site and click on careers, it should be careers or jobs, and you will search for the TAPP applications. Type in TAPP and it will come up. So you'll complete that. You'll complete that TAPP interest form, which I just put in the chat box for you. You will submit your resume. And then you will submit evidence of passing scores on all 3 parts of the GACE program admissions assessment. It used to be called the GACE basic skills test. So that's going to test your math, your reading, and your writing. Okay, now there is a good thing with this. With the program admissions assessment, you can exempt it if you have one of the exemptions that are in that blue box to the right. So if you took the ACT, in the past, and you got a 43 combined English and math score, you can exempt the program admissions assessment. With the GRE, if you have that exemption, that 1030 on the verbal and quantitative test parts of the test, you can exempt the program admissions assessment. With the SAT, verbal and math combined score of 1080, you can exempt the program admissions assessment. And then you see some additional information. Prior to July 2019, the combined score is 1000, but I'm sure that you fall in the 1080 range. Now, if you know you have any of these exemptions, it would be to your benefit to contact the test provider for the ACT, the GRE, or the SAT and get your official score report. And you can submit that instead of taking the program admissions assessment. And that'll save you some time and some money. Now, as I said, you're going to submit those passing scores of the GACE test as well as the GACE content test. And we will list those content tests on that GACE recommendation form that we will send you after you submit your TAPP interest form. You will have to take the GACE Educator Ethics exam. This is a computer-based test. You'll do that in the comfort of your own home on your computer. It is a series of modules that you'll go through. So that is another test that you will need to take and add to your application packet. Then when you are submitting that full application packet, then we will need your official transcripts of all of the colleges and universities you attended. All right. So if you need any more information, you can go to the GACE website that's on the screen and get additional details. You can also go to the Georgia Professional Standards Commission website and look up TAPP or look up certification, and you can get more information there. So please note for our program, you must have a bachelor's degree with at least a 2.5 GPA. So that means at the time that that degree was conferred, when you graduated, your GPA must be 2.5. We prefer 3.0 on the 4.0 scale, but we can accept up to a 2.5. Now, please note, we do not round up. We do not do anything except look at that number that's on your transcript. If it is a 2.5, then you're good. If it's a 2.49 or lower, then I'm sorry, our TAPP program will not be able to service you. Now, I mentioned earlier entering the TAPP program in a specific content field like math, English language arts, social studies, science. If you want to come into our TAPP program in those particular content fields, then on your bachelor's degree transcript, your undergraduate transcript, you must have enough credit hours to support you entering the TAPP program in that particular pathway. So for example, if I wanted to teach math at the middle school level, my bachelor's degree transcript must reflect at least 15 semester hours in math courses or math-like courses. So that's why you're submitting your transcript. We're going to be looking through that to see if you have enough credit hours. Now, let's say you wanted to teach calculus, which is, of course, a high school math course. You would have to show that you have 21 semester hours in a math field in order to teach on that high school level. So just to reiterate, for middle school, that's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, to teach on that level, you would have to show 15 credit hours in a specific content field. For high school, you would need to show 21 semester hours in that particular content field. We prefer upper level coursework, and that's defined as 3,000, 4,000 level courses, 300, 400 level courses, whatever your college or university designates it as. But that's what we prefer. And now remember, if you're trying to come in to the Clayton County TAPP program through special education or elementary education, you don't need to worry about this. All you need is that 2.5 GPA, because we're going to teach you everything you need to know in those two areas. So as I've already put in the chat box, and I'll put it in again, the interest form. This is the bottom part of the interest form that you're going to fill out. So the top part just got some information about you. The bottom part's got the information about your degree, your GPA, and the areas that you are interested in possibly coming into the Clayton County Public Schools TAPP program. So you'll see that you're going to put the college or university that you attended, again, the college or university that you received your bachelor's degree from. City, state, degree type awarded, the date that it was awarded, your major, and your GPA. Please write your GPA or type your GPA into that field. You see that we have high school and middle school separated down here, as well as this third box, which outlines fine arts, because we do take people into the fine arts. That would be music, art, those types of fields. Special education. You see that there are two different types of special education. One is general curriculum, and the other is adaptive curriculum. And we're going to talk about those a little bit later. And we have foreign language. Clayton County Public Schools supports Spanish, French, and we do Chinese, and we're always adding more languages to our curriculum. And then early childhood, on your form it says elementary education. It's the same thing. So those, you can check one of those boxes. Now, if you have those content fields for high school and middle school, then you can check those as well. We ask that you please only check two areas. Only two areas. So you've got to evaluate and look at your transcript and see what you possibly can teach. So again, if you have a background in journalism, don't check science. Okay, just boils down to that. If you are trying to come into our TAPP program in a CTAE field, now you can check that, but please make sure you type in the area that you're interested in. Okay? Now, there's one warning with that. CTAE fields, there's sometimes not a ton of positions available in those fields. So we have had people who have completed the application process but could not find employment in a school because there were no positions available. So keep that in mind. I would look at the Human Resources Jobs website just so you can be up to date on how many jobs are available in those fields. Now, for entry into the TAPP program in August 2021, please make sure you note this. The deadline is May 3rd, okay? So that means you need to have a complete application packet by May 3rd. Now, I'm going to drop into the chat box an application checklist. And this checklist outlines everything that you need to have and submit a complete application to our offices. All right, so just quickly, let's look at the application timeline. So if we look at the first orange shape on the left-hand side, you're doing the first thing, the TAPP interest meeting, and you're going to submit that TAPP interest form with your transcript. Of course, you don't need to submit it today. You can email it. You can email it to us tomorrow or at your leisure. You'll get that GACE recommendation from us. You'll take and pass those tests that we have recommended for you. Then you'll submit that full application packet by the May deadline. After that, we will call you in for a TAPP program interview. That's when you will interview with teacher development specialists and the coordinator of professional learning. Once you pass that, then we send your name out to administrators in the district. And TAPP teachers are highly prized because you all would be highly supported. Once you secure that teaching position, then we invite you to TAPP Essentials, as I said, that 2-week training, and then you go to that new teacher orientation. After you've completed those things, then you are the teacher of record in your classroom, and you'll start your teaching career with the Clayton County Public Schools TAPP program. Now, you may be wondering where to submit all this information. You will submit that to our TAPP administrative assistant, Ms. Teresa Marshall. Her email address is on the screen, teresa.marshall@clayton.k12.ga.us. Now, we ask that you submit your electronic applications in one email with all the documents that are needed, because it is very difficult to keep track of different pieces of people's applications. So we ask that you submit everything at once for that complete application packet to Ms. Marshall. You can submit your application packet by mail, but please understand, due to COVID-19, we are not working in our building at the moment. So if you send something there, it may be a day or two before someone goes by the building to actually pick up the mail. So your best bet is to submit it electronically. If you need to submit it through the mail, you have our address there. The Department of Professional Learning is located at 1087 Battle Creek Road, Jonesboro, Georgia 30236. And please put attention, TAPP Selection Committee, Ms. Teresa Marshall. Now, the only other piece of the application packet that we will accept, or that we would like to accept outside of just you emailing the full packet, is your transcript if your university or college does e-scripts. For those, you will have to go into your portal on your college or university and have them send your electronic transcript. In order for those transcripts to be official, you must add Ms. Marshall's email to that, and it must go directly to her. So I'll repeat that again. when you are filling out the information for your each electronic transcript from your college or university, you must have it sent directly to Miss Marshall. If it comes to you and you forward it to Miss Marshall, it is considered unofficial. It has to go directly to her. Now, with paper transcripts, you can have those sent to you and then add those to your application packet. Just do not open the sealed envelope. If you open the sealed envelope, it is an unofficial transcript. Please make note of that. Again, send those e-scripts to Miss Teresa Marshall and make sure you put attention Teresa Marshall. Now, I mentioned earlier the GACE tests. The program admission test fees you can see on the screen. You can take that test broken up into the three parts, the math, reading, and writing, or you can take them all together. You see it's more cost effective to take the combined three tests. You see that price is $128, but here you've got to be really, you've got to reflect and ask yourself, am I a good test taker? I know for me, I need to take those one at a time. So you see the prices on the screen for that. It's $78 for each single test, or if you want to take two tests together, it's $103. Now, with the content test, those tests that we're going to give you the information about with that GACE recommendation form, some tests you'll take, like especially on the middle grades, you'll take just one test for that content test. If you're aiming for high school, you may have to take a two-part content test. Well, sorry, not may, you will have to. If you are doing special education or elementary education, those are going to be two parts or more tests. And then at the bottom, you can see the GACE educator ethics, and that's a $30 fee. And you do that at home. Please check that GACE registration page for testing locations. You will have to go to a testing center to do this, this test. You can go to the GACE website and get some test prep materials. You can also go to Amazon and Barnes & Noble and try to get some of those testing books, but those are few and far in between, and I've heard they can be pretty expensive. Remember, all tests must be passed in order to apply to the Clayton County Public Schools TAPP program. Now, make sure when you are choosing the test that you want to take that you pay attention to the testing window and the school reporting date. So this is the elementary education testing window and score reporting date from the GACE website. We see that in order to take the test and get that score report back, in order to submit your full application packet, you would have to take that test between April 2nd and April 11th. That is when the window is open, and you'll get that score report back by April 30th. So make sure you pay attention to that. Now, if you want to come in special education, I mentioned earlier that there are two different pathways with special education. You have general curriculum. That's where you would be a co-teacher and you'd be a small group teacher. And that would be in a general classroom. Now, adapted special ed is those students whose cognitive levels don't raise above 8th grade level. Those are our students who would be considered moderately intellectually disabled or severely intellectually disabled. Some of our autistic students would be in this population. So these are kind of self-contained classrooms where you're the teacher with those students all day long. So because the students' cognitive level doesn't rise above that 8th grade level, then that means with adaptive special ed, you can teach from kindergarten. Your certificate will be good from kindergarten to 12th grade. With the general curriculum test, you would have to take, in order to teach all the different content areas, like in a middle school or a elementary school, you would have to take some additional content tests. It's the same with the adaptive curriculum as well. So on the right-hand side of the screen, you would have to take your special education reading, ELA, and social studies test, and then also your special education math and science tests. So that means you'd be able to co-teach in all of those different classrooms in our K through 8 grade levels. Okay, and I can take questions about that later on. Now, please remember that you have to take all of the GACE tests that we recommend and pass them. Unless you have those those that GRE, that SAT, or the ACT test to exempt the program admissions assessment. You got to take that educator's assessment in those content areas. You must pass the GACE test in order to apply for TAPP, and make sure to complete that application checklist. Now, for other questions that pop up, that once we're off this meeting, then you can email those again to Miss Marshall. You can also call her on her Clayton County cell phone. Phone number is on the screen. That number is available 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday only. She's more than happy to help you on the weekends, but please don't call her on those 2 days. Okay, Monday through Friday only, 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. Now you can. I'm also going to put in the chat box the link to our Clayton County Public Schools TAPP website. We put information up there. We will also put the recording of this session on the website. So if you have any questions that aren't answered today, you can go back through the presentation and you can find those answers to those questions. All right, so that brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you so much for coming. We will allow